Men and women of Reddit who caught their significant others cheating. How did you do that? And what was your reaction? Went for my yearly checkup and tested positive for chlamydia. Turns out my ex was sleeping around. The 1st of June, 2018. Normal day. A Friday. My husband had kissed me goodbye and gone to work. I was cleaning the house for company who was coming to stay the weekend. The doorbell rang. There was a man at my door who introduced himself as the husband of a woman whom my husband worked with. He was there to tell me that my husband and his wife were having an affair. He had busted them about 6 months prior and had told his wife that she had to end the affair. He thinks that she did end it. For about 3 months. But then they started up again. When he found out they were at it again, he called my husband, because he knew if he confronted him in person, he'd be in a jail cell for what he'd have done. On the phone, he told my husband to leave his wife alone or else he would come and tell me everything that was happening. Apparently, my husband thought that he was bluffing. So I was literally the last to know. My husband never came home again. He got an Airbnb and a lawyer. The divorce was the 21st of December, 2018. We had been together for 24 years. Still hurts. Went out with a friend. The bartender was a girl my age-ish and goes, "Hey, you look familiar. Aren't you so and so's ex-wife?" Dart. We were currently married. They had been hooking up a while. He had been telling her he took our divorce hard apparently. Thank God she was there for him. A friend of mine was suspicious of her husband cheating, as he went to play soccer with friends way too often. He always came already showered as he would sweat playing. One day she sewed his soccer socks together, and when he came back all showered she saw the socks were still sewed. So he wasn't playing soccer at all. Edit, spelled husband wrong edit 2. Will this blow up? Many people are commenting how this doesn't prove he was cheating. Just that he was lying. She later confronted him and he was indeed cheating. Also, many are saying clean socks would have been enough evidence. And that's true. I guess she didn't think that deep about it. I caught my ex sexting a chick and telling her how he missed her on my birthday. I was young at the time and reacting with crying and yelling. If it ever happened now I would just get up and leave. No point in trying to mend the relationship because it's near impossible to gain the trust that was lost. Edit, spelling error. Dated a girl for about 2 years. Like 18 months into the relationship we're talking about moving in together. Then kinda out of nowhere she starts becoming distant and irritable. We ended up breaking up. Fast forward 3 months after the breakup I found that Facebook has a section where messages from non-friends are kept. Turns out my then GF was banging her ex and the UPS driver that delivered to her store at the mall. She ended getting with the UPS driver and his 3 kids. Last I checked they're freaking miserable and it brings me joy every time I think about it. Edit, in my messages was a note from the UPS driver's then wife. My ex not only cheated but broke up a marriage. The husband of one of the women he was cheating on me with called me at work. At first I didn't believe him and hung up. How could the man I spent the past 8 years with, had 2 beautiful babies with, suffered together the loss of one of those children do something so hurtful? Question mark. Still a part of me had doubt. He had affairs in other relationships and we had a rocky patch early in the beginning where I suspected an affair but didn't have proof. I told my boss I felt sick and had to leave early and I called this guy back and found out that my ex and his wife along with one of their friends were all sleeping together for about a year. He had confronted my ex and told him that he was going to tell me but my ex convinced him to wait a month since my mother had just died. I took my time coming home and confronted him and told him to pack and leave. Since I've pieced together a lot of what happened and all the lies he told me where if I was in a different headspace I might have caught onto the affairs earlier. I also found videos hidden on one of our computers and found out he was having booty calls in our apartment while I was at work and he was watching our daughter. At that point it put the headstone on any possibility of reconciliation. This is almost word for word how the convo went. Me, you sleeping with so and so. Her, yay me, want a divorce? Her, kinda me, okay I'll file tomorrow. I caught my wife after she passed away from cancer. Worst feeling ever. Caught between unending love, mourning and absolute anger. This first started back in December right before we went on a holiday trip to see my family. She started acting somewhat off. Kinda distant. And easily aggravated. I had a suspicion that something was going on and I'm embarrassed to admit that I snooped on her iWatch. Found some incriminating texts she had with a friend. So I confronted her in January. She tells me that she kissed a guy that she works with and that was it. We were having some issues in our relationship and I choose to forgive her and we decided to try working on some of the issues we were having. Well, fast forward to this past May. She breaks down that she wasn't honest with me and that she had actually fricked this other dude. We split after the news. We had been together 8 years and had been engaged for almost 2 years. Our wedding date was supposed to be fricking yesterday. It's still fricking killing me. I don't even know where to go from here. 2020 can go eat a pee. My ex and I used to share a computer. She was getting messages from her first boyfriend. I didn't bother reading them. Because I figured he was just saying hi or wanted to know where she was in life now. A couple of months later. I'm on the computer. And she insisted that she log out while I'm there. Okay. Things feel weird here. Another couple of days pass. And she wants to visit her parents. Okay cool. I keep the kids and she goes off. I get a call from one of my buddies who works at a hotel where my ex and I are both from saying my wife just checked in with another guy. So long story short. Divorced her. Frick you Stephanie. Edit fixed a word. Edit 2. I've been trying to reply and upvote everyone. But I gotta take a break. It's been fun. I'll reply and upvote the rest when this isn't relevant anymore. I had my suspicions but it was her who ended up telling me. I went into the relationship thinking wow. I don't deserve this girl. Way out of my league. She couldn't help but remind me how much better he was several times and made sure to rub it in my face. My reaction was a spiral into deep depression. For someone that has very low self-esteem, being cheated on is one of the worst feelings. It feels like it confirms all your worst thoughts about yourself. I found a used condom on the bathroom floor. I just emailed him a 30-day end of tenancy notice. I own the house. Very unhealthy relationship. He was emotionally very abusive and I was in a terrible place with my mental health. I found out at the ultrasound to determine the gender of our child. He was late and I was noodling on Facebook waiting to be called. He was tagged in some photos in my newsfeed from a gig he'd been at on the previous weekend. Random lass was in all the photos of him and they were all over each other. Also they were making out in the background of one photo. He turned up after I was called in. While the technician was printing the images I told him I knew. He went off and on about how I was making it up. He'd never do that. Obviously I was lying to compensate for cheating on him and so on. When I pointed out there were photos he stormed out and left me there. My dad had turned up during the appointment, anticipating that he'd react badly if we were having a girl. Which he did. That was scattered through the cheating denials, and took me home. I considered us broken up at that point and stopped all contact except texts related to the pregnancy. Mostly I was relieved. I had concrete evidence that it wasn't in my head and I finally managed to escape that relationship. Back then Facebook used to display on your profile stuff like don't say or to like a photo and everything you did. I noticed he liked a photo of a girl that seemed to be someone he had recently added. So I checked her profile and she was one of those girls who think they won because men cheat on their partners with them. She had everything public. Photos with him. Bragging about the texts they exchanged, etc. So I engineered a way to befriend her roommate. I would then find out she was bringing other dudes home besides my boyfriend, and when I confronted him I also let him know about who else she was sleeping with and for him to get an STD test. I found out he had signed up for a bunch of apps, such as Ashley Madison, Tinder, and Bumble. He would message his mutual acquaintances asking if they'd be up for massages, etc. I blamed myself for years that he wasn't interested in hanky-panky with me because I'd had a baby and gained a little weight. Nope. He just enjoyed contacting other women for hanky-panky more. We're in the middle of our divorce now. He doesn't understand why I'm wrecking our marriage because of a few indiscretions. Edit. Never. 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 Never say you're single on Reddit because of the possible direct messages. Ex-wife actually asked me for her blessing to commit adultery with another married man. She was shocked when I said I don't support it. She went ballistic, has severe mental health issues. Went and did it anyway and ended up in a psych ward. 2 marriages ended and now the 2 cheaters are engaged. Little devastated at first. Blessing in disguise. I had come home from a 5-month cruise. My GF at the time was a court stenographer. So when she wasn't at the pier I figured she had a case or was catching up on transcripts. So I got a ride from my friend to see unfamiliar BMW in my driveway. I walk in to see her blowing some stranger on my couch. Keep in mind this was my house, not hers. I didn't say a word to her. I just started grabbing her poop and throwing it in the front yard and called her father to come pick her up because her car was an old Quattro and in the shop. Again. And up to that point I was letting her drive mine until it was fixed. I will not bore you with the drama, but she was taken by the MAs instead of her dad. 4 years ago I was dating a girl who became distant and disinterested in a lot of things we both enjoyed together. Despite attempts to talk about it. She only grew more distant, then became less available to hang out and suddenly was working late a lot. I started getting suspicious about cheating when she was on her phone non-stop. Again I tried to talk about it but she wouldn't engage. She also just didn't want to break up with me for whatever reason. I was actually going to end it on my own. But one weekend when she was seemingly unavailable, some mutual friends told me they spotted her with a dude from her work and they were all over each other. Coincidentally, she had also lent me her iPad and it was synced to her phone, so I saw lots of texts between those two over that weekend. They were talking about running away together, etc. He was married and her supervisor. Mutual friends were also composed of her co-workers and reported them to HR. They were both forced to do training on not sleeping with co-workers. They were both denied promotion. His wife left him. And she moved overseas. Sucked at the time. I was devastated. But karma got them good. He took a phone call from her in front of me and because, I guess, he thought he was being slick, he started flirting with her in front of me. He ended up sexually harassing me after the relationship was over and I got him in hot water for that. He never did it again and was told if he even talked to me again, he'd get fired. I ended up leaving that job a few months later. I caught my ex-husband cheating as an accident. We had gone to work in the evening and I couldn't get into my office due to a building screw up. So he let me in his so I could print something. He went for a walk to get his steps in. As I was on his computer I realized it was logged into Facebook. I just had a feeling. I looked in the messages and he had been chatting with a woman he met in another country via our work. I copied all I could and confronted him when he returned. Made him take me for a drink and told him there would be no reconciliation. He was shell-shocked and I told him to go home and pack a bag. That was 6 months ago and I'm really happy to have lost the dead weight. He was a difficult man. Emotionally abusive. But I lived my vows and tried to help him as much as I could and reorganize my life around him. Edit due to questions, yes. He had some odd behaviors leading up to this, including a work call from a woman on our family vacation. And in the texts he described wanting to have an affair with her. And they met periodically over 2 years. Including one time he stayed with her for a month in her country. So yes. He cheated. not just a flirtation or an emotional affair. I didn't catch her. She told me I wasn't a real man and that's why she did it. She just told me everything she hated about me. Went on to why I'm worthless, pulled over, kicked me out the car and I had to walk back to my place. As far as my reaction went, I went home, cried, went to bed, stayed in bed for a few days, thought I was a terrible person for a few weeks, cut my holiday leave short and went back to work early to get my mind off things. Edit, this was a while ago now and I'm definitely in a much better place in my life.
Hi there. Look, if you enjoyed the video, well, why not go ahead and hit that like and subscribe to Reddit Stories. In fact, if you want to see even more responses to this thread, well then, take a look. There's the link in the description below. And remember, show some love to those authors while you're there. And I look forward to seeing you next time.